Have you ever wondered if you are truly steering the course of your life, or if you have been drifting on a current you didn't even know you were creating? Most people wake up each morning, rush through their routines, and believe that the events around them are fixed, predetermined, and beyond their control. Yet science and the deepest truths about awareness reveal something entirely different. The observer effect, demonstrated in the famous double-slit experiment, shattered the belief that the world is solid and unchangeable. When scientists sent particles toward to slits, they expected them to behave predictably. But the moment those particles were observed, they changed their behavior, collapsing from infinite possibilities into one tangible outcome. That simple act of observation altered reality itself. And if that happens at the smallest level of existence, what does it mean for the choices you make, the emotions you dwell on, and the thoughts you repeat every day? It means that you are not just a participant in this life. You are the director, the camera operator, and the scriptwriter, whether you realize it or not. Yet, if you have been unconsciously focusing on fear, doubt, and scarcity, you have also been unconsciously reinforcing those patterns. Think about the frustration of feeling stuck in the same loop, chasing goals that never seem to arrive, replaying disappointments, or wondering why the same obstacles keep appearing. These are not random accidents. They may be reflections of the lens you have been using all along. Steve Jobs understood this after being forced out of the very company he built. Instead of crumbling, he shifted his perspective, creating Pixar and Next, both of which led him back to Apple stronger than ever. His life changed because his viewpoint changed. Right now, you have that same power within you. If you knew that altering your inner focus could transform your outer reality, would you take the first step? The pain of repeating old patterns could be replaced by clarity, momentum, and a life that responds to your highest vision. Would you be ready to claim it? So the question becomes, if you have been unconsciously shaping your reality all along, how can you start doing it with full awareness? You begin to shape reality by mastering where your attention goes. Because attention is not passive. It is a force that trains your mind and body to recognize and amplify whatever you focus on. Inside your brain, there is a small but powerful network called the reticular activating system, or RAS, which acts like a filter between the flood of sensory information around you and the limited amount your conscious mind can process. Every second, your body absorbs millions of bits of data, but only a fraction becomes visible to you. And what gets through is determined by what you repeatedly think about, feel strongly about, and care about. If you have ever decided you wanted to buy a red Ford Mustang, you may have suddenly noticed them appearing everywhere, not because there are more of them on the road, but because your RAS has tuned in to that detail. This same mechanism operates in every area of your life. When you constantly dwell on what could go wrong, your RAS highlights potential problems and confirms your fears. When you train it to look for opportunities, it starts revealing possibilities you might have missed before. Neuroscience research confirms that the RAS learns from repetition and emotional intensity, meaning that what you give consistent focus to becomes more prominent in your perception. This is why two people can be in the same situation and one sees only obstacles while the other notices openings and solutions. The difference is not luck, it is focus. In America, a former soldier named James came home from years in combat, haunted by memories that trapped him in a cycle of hypervigilance and anxiety. His days were filled with triggers that kept his nervous system on edge until he began directing his attention toward a completely different subject: wildlife photography. At first, it was just a hobby, taking pictures of birds in his backyard. But over time, it rewired his brain. The RAS began prioritizing patterns in nature instead of cues of danger. Slowly, the panic lessened, the flashbacks faded, and peace became his new normal. You have the same ability to train your perception toward the reality you wish to live in. Energy follows attention. and attention builds the framework for the life you experience. If you continually direct your focus toward growth, gratitude, and possibilities, your RAS will filter the world to reflect that, bringing you more of what matches your chosen state. What you concentrate on today will shape the world you inhabit tomorrow. But the question remains, what if negative thoughts and heavy emotions keep pulling you back into old patterns? When you feel pulled into negativity, choose to observe instead of reacting, because the instant you step back and watch rather than engage, you reclaim the ability to decide your next move. Most people merge so completely with their thoughts and feelings that they believe those mental stories are who they are. Yet there is a profound difference between identifying with a thought and simply witnessing it. When you observe, you create a gap, a moment of stillness between the trigger and your response, and inside that gap is your freedom. This is what mindfulness research from Harvard has shown repeatedly, that practicing non-judgmental awareness reduces stress, strengthens emotional regulation, and improves clarity under pressure. It is not about denying what you feel. It is about meeting it from a position of stability rather than being swept away. Imagine you are in a heated meeting and someone challenges your ideas in front of the entire room. The automatic response might be to snap back defensively or shut down completely, but the role of the inner observer is to pause. Notice the surge of heat in your body, the tightening in your chest, the rapid pace of your thoughts, and allow them to pass through without immediate action. In Silicon Valley, a CEO once faced such a moment when a high-stakes pitch was unraveling. Instead of lashing out, he took a slow breath, acknowledged the frustration rising inside, and silently labeled it for what it was. That small pause allowed him to shift his energy, regain composure, and propose an alternative solution that turned the meeting around. This is the subtle yet immense power of observation over reaction. You are not the storm of sensations and narratives swirling in your mind. You are the vast sky that holds them, steady and unaffected at its core. The more you practice this shift, the less control those automatic patterns have over you. Each time you notice without reacting, you strengthen neural pathways that make calm and clarity your default. Over time, situations that once triggered instant anger or fear will meet a new version of you, one that chooses response over reflex. This is not suppression, it is mastery. And with mastery, you begin to dissolve the repetitive cycles that keep you trapped. The storm may still pass through, but it no longer defines your weather. Yet a challenge remains. What do you do when the emotion is so strong it feels impossible to simply observe it without being pulled under? When emotions grow too intense, transform them instead of resisting. Because resistance often feeds the very state you want to escape, while transformation channels its energy into something that serves you. This is the essence of emotional transmutation, the art of converting heavy or turbulent feelings into momentum that fuels your growth. The first step is recognition, to clearly name what you are feeling without judgment. Then comes allowing yourself to fully sense it in your body, not to indulge it, but to acknowledge its presence. The third stage is permission, giving the feeling space to exist without forcing it away. Because emotions are simply waves of energy moving through your nervous system. The final stage is redirection, guiding that energy into purposeful action or creative expression. Neuroscience confirms that the brain's neuroplasticity allows emotional responses to be rewired through deliberate attention, meaning you can train your mind to respond differently over time. This is not theory, it is biology. Oprah Winfrey is a living example of this principle. Growing up in poverty and enduring a childhood marked by hardship and trauma, she could have been consumed by bitterness. Instead, she chose to turn her pain into purpose, using her platform to inspire millions, build schools, and create opportunities for others. She did not erase her history. She reshaped its meaning, turning raw emotion into a driving force for impact. You can do the same in your life. Every strong emotion carries energy, like a current of electricity. You can let it scorch you, or you can channel it into light. Anger can become courage to set boundaries. Sadness can deepen your capacity for empathy. Fear can sharpen your awareness and preparation. The choice lies in your awareness and willingness to work with the feeling rather than fight against it. Each time you practice this, you strengthen the mental pathways that make transformation more natural. Over time, what once triggered a spiral can instead trigger creation. The moment you catch yourself in the swell of a feeling, pause, breathe, name it, allow it, and then choose its direction. In doing so, you become the master of your emotional energy rather than its prisoner. But the question that remains is, how can you sustain a positive emotional frequency, not just in moments of strength, but consistently over the long term? Maintain positive emotions by living in the frequency you desire. Because the law of vibration teaches that you do not attract what you wish for, you attract what you are in harmony with. Every thought, every belief, and every feeling emits a signal into the field around you, and that signal is what the world responds to. If you carry a vibration of fear or lack, you will notice more experiences that match those states. If you embody gratitude, confidence, and possibility, life begins to mirror those qualities back to you. This is where the difference from the law of attraction becomes clear. Attraction focuses on wanting, while vibration focuses on being. It is not enough to think about what you want. You must align your emotions, your beliefs, and the images in your mind with a version of you who already lives that reality. Dr. David Hawkins. Research into human consciousness mapped emotional states to measurable frequencies, showing that higher states like joy, love, and peace resonate at levels that shift not only your mood, but also how life unfolds around you. The shift begins inside with the inner signal you broadcast. In America, actor Jim Carrey famously wrote himself a check for $10 million and dated it for several years in the future. He carried that check in his wallet, and more importantly, he lived each day as though he had already earned it. He trained his energy, his mind, and his choices to match that vision. Years later, he was offered a movie role that paid him the exact amount he had written down. His success was not born from wishing, but from becoming a vibrational match to his goal. You have the same capacity to synchronize your inner state with the life you desire. This means practicing thoughts that support your vision, feeling the emotions of already having it, and reinforcing those emotions with daily habits. The mirror of reality will not change because you try to polish its surface. It changes when the person standing in front of it transforms. Each moment you choose to live in the frequency of your desired future, you reinforce it until it becomes your normal state. The question now is, how can you truly feel the future as though it has already happened, so that your entire being resonates with it in the present? Visualize and feel your future right now, because the mind responds to vivid imagination in the same way it responds to real experience, shaping your emotions, your physiology, and your actions to align with that vision. Begin by creating a detailed scene in your mind, not a vague picture, but a living, breathing moment, as if you were already there. See where you are. Notice the colors, the shapes, the lighting. Hear the sounds around you, the tone of voices, the rhythm of the environment. Engage your sense of touch, the textures beneath your hands, the temperature in the air. Smell the scents in that space. Taste the elements that belong to that reality. Most importantly, feel the emotions you would have if this scene were unfolding. In your life today, let your chest expand with gratitude. Let your heart beat with excitement. Let your body relax into the certainty that you have already arrived. Neuroscience research confirms that the brain cannot distinguish between an actual event and one vividly imagined with emotional intensity. meaning that by practicing this daily, you are rewiring neural pathways to match the life you want. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history, used this method relentlessly. Before each race, he would mentally swim every stroke, feel the water, hear the crowd, and even rehearse how he would respond if something went wrong, such as water filling his goggles. When those challenges occurred in real life, he performed flawlessly because his mind and body had already lived through them. This is the power of living as if. When you consistently embody the version of yourself who has already succeeded, you start making choices, taking actions, and attracting situations that match that identity. The world begins to organize itself around your internal state. This is not pretending. It is programming your subconscious to accept this new reality as normal, so it works toward it without resistance. The more vividly and consistently you do this, the more natural it becomes, until the line between vision and reality begins to blur. Live like the champion you know you can be, and the crown will find you. But the question that remains is what to do when your current environment tries to pull you back into the patterns and habits you have worked so hard to leave behind. The environment only reflects your inner state, which means the world around you is a mirror showing the patterns, beliefs, and energy you carry within. If your personal frequency is filled with doubt, frustration, or fear, you will notice more situations and people that echo those emotions. If you cultivate clarity, gratitude, and confidence, the reflection will shift to match. Social psychology has repeatedly shown that surroundings strongly influence behavior and habits, often without our conscious awareness. This is why the fastest way to upgrade your environment is to first upgrade your inner world, and then deliberately design the outer conditions to support it. Start by evaluating the spaces you spend the most time in. Does your home or workspace inspire you or drain you? Clear physical clutter to create mental space. Surround yourself with objects, colors, and sounds that align with the future you are building. Next, examine the people in your circle. Relationships act like tuning forks, amplifying or lowering your vibration. Seek out those who challenge you to grow, who celebrate your progress, and who share your vision. Reduce exposure to those who constantly pull you into cycles of negativity or gossip. Then, control the information that enters your mind. The content you consume shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your reality. Choose books, podcasts, and conversations that fuel inspiration and knowledge rather than fear or outrage. In New York, a woman once found herself stuck in a loop of dissatisfaction, surrounded by friends who dismissed her ambitions. She made a bold choice to step away from that group and join a local startup community. Within a year, she had launched her own business, expanded her network with supportive and driven people, and transformed her lifestyle. This shift was not magic. It was the result of aligning her inner state with environments that matched it. When you consciously curate your surroundings, you amplify the changes you are making inside. You become like a magnet, drawing in opportunities, connections, and experiences that resonate with your chosen frequency. And just as a magnet does not pull every piece of metal, you have the power to choose what you attract. So the real question becomes, what specific actions can you take each day to maintain this alignment and ensure your state remains strong, clear, and focused? Sustain your progress with micro habits repeated daily, because lasting transformation is rarely the result of one massive leap, but of small, consistent actions that compound over time. These tiny behaviors might seem insignificant in the moment, yet they are the seeds that grow into powerful change. Begin with practices that take almost no time but create momentum. 5 minutes of meditation each morning to center your mind. 3 seconds of pause before responding to a challenging situation to prevent a reaction you might regret. 1 intentional sentence of self-appreciation to reinforce your worth and align your energy for the day. Each repetition builds a foundation, training your brain and nervous system to operate from clarity and intention. James Clear's research in Atomic Habits demonstrates that improving by just 1% each day leads to remarkable growth over weeks, months, and years, because the gains multiply. The compounding effect means that a tiny improvement, repeated often, becomes a transformation too large to ignore. In the United States, a sales professional felt trapped in a plateau, working hard but seeing no significant progress. Instead of overhauling his entire routine, he began by shifting his mornings. He woke up 30 minutes earlier, spent 5 minutes visualizing his goals, reviewed his top priorities, and committed to making one extra sales call before lunch. These adjustments seemed small, yet within 6 months, his sales had doubled. His confidence grew, his energy improved, and he carried that momentum into every part of his life. Micro habits work because they are too small to trigger resistance. You cannot argue that you do not have 3 seconds to pause or 5 minutes to breathe. They are manageable, repeatable, and when tied to existing routines, they become automatic. The real magic happens when these actions are aligned with the identity you are creating. Because each repetition reinforces the belief that you are the kind of person who acts with intention. Over time, this identity becomes unshakable, and the results begin to accelerate. Like grains of sand gathering to form an expansive beach, each small choice shapes the landscape of your future. The question you now face is how to respond when you miss a day, slip into old habits, or temporarily lose that rhythm you have worked so hard to build. When you fail, simply return immediately, because the moment you decide to step back into action, you cut off the downward spiral before it gathers strength. Too often, people treat a missed day or a setback as evidence that they have ruined everything. And that belief becomes the reason they stop altogether. In reality, a break in your streak is not the end unless you let it be. Behavioral psychology shows the fresh start effect, where a clear mental reset point, such as a Monday, a birthday, or even a new sunrise, can reignite commitment and focus. You do not need to wait for a perfect date on the calendar to start again. The best time is the very next choice you make. Momentum builds not from never falling, but from refusing to stay down. In America, a writer once walked away from her manuscript for 6 months, overwhelmed by doubt and personal challenges. The unfinished pages sat untouched, gathering dust, until one morning she decided to open the file and write a single paragraph. That one paragraph led to a page, then a chapter, and within a year, the book was complete. It went on to become a bestseller, changing her career and inspiring thousands of readers. Her success did not come from an unbroken path, but from her ability to return quickly when she wandered off course. The faster you resume after a slip, the less time your mind has to justify quitting. Every return strengthens the identity of someone who persists, and that identity is worth more than any perfect record. When you adopt this mindset, mistakes stop being proof of weakness and instead become proof of resilience. The key is to strip away the drama around failure and view it as a neutral event, simply a moment to recalibrate. One step forward right now is far more valuable than waiting until tomorrow or next week to begin again. It does not matter how far you have drifted. What counts is the decision to steer back toward your path. The road will always be there for you when you choose it. The question now is, with all the tools, strategies, and insights you have gathered, how can you fully step into being the true creator of your life? Become the creator of your life through conscious presence in every moment, because it is in the now that your choices shape the path ahead. Every tool you have learned, mastering focus, observing instead of reacting, transforming emotion, aligning your vibration, visualizing with feeling, shaping your environment, building micro habits, and returning quickly after setbacks works together like pieces of an intricate design. You are the meeting point where possibilities turn into reality, the lens through which the infinite becomes specific. John Wheeler's participatory universe theory in physics suggests that the very act of participation influences the unfolding of the cosmos, and in the same way, your awareness and actions influence the unfolding of your life. This is not abstract philosophy. It is a daily practice of living intentionally. In the United States, an entrepreneur began with nothing more than an idea and a garage. Instead of waiting for perfect conditions, he applied these principles with relentless consistency. He focused on opportunities, kept his emotional state in alignment with his vision, visualized his success every day, surrounded himself with people and spaces that elevated his energy, built small habits that moved him forward, and refused to quit even when facing rejection after rejection. Over time, those choices compounded, turning his small operation into a multi-million-dollar company. His story is proof that creation is not a single act, but an ongoing process fueled by awareness and aligned action. You have the same capacity. You are not here to drift or to live by default. You are here to create. Each moment offers a decision to align with fear or with possibility, to react blindly or to respond consciously, to wait for life to happen or to shape it with your own hands. The mirror of reality is waiting for you to step forward and decide what it will reflect. You are the artist, the architect, and the author, and this exact breath is your canvas. You are not here for a rehearsal. You are here to create. And this moment belongs to you. If you feel this message has reached the deepest part of you, press like, share this with someone who needs to hear it. And leave the symbol in the comments so I know you are creating your reality alongside me. Thank you for choosing to watch this video among the millions out there.